Hello everybody, it's your friend Rick. I'm going to do a quick video. Okay, there it is. Quo Warranto. Alright, you heard me speak about this in the past, and it is this that helped me get off child support. I was floundering. I was doing everything I can. Then I filed this in July. What I did was I had a hearing before that piece of shit support magistrate, Sudeep Kaur, and she did her usual, ignoring me and issuing a dismissal without even answering my page. She just dismissed, So I filed an objection with the judge that I'm interacting with in my video, the judge that eventually issued a stay in August, and then he vacated it in November. Now, when he dismissed my objection, now you guys, most of you have seen my paperwork, I'm very thorough, and I was thorough with him. And what he did was he ignored all of my evidence. He ignored all the case laws, and I cited New York State case laws. I cited appellate court decisions that he's bound by, and his response was to dismiss my objection for lack of merit, which is an insult to me. What you're saying is my case has no merit, which is how can my case have no merit if I'm citing the New York State Court of Appeals and the appellate division? So my response was I filed the Writ of Quo Warranto. Well, no, I filed another objection to the to his dismissal. I filed a rebuttal, and in it I wrote that you have no subject matter jurisdiction, and then I cited a Supreme Court case. See, remember we talk about presumptions. It's presumed that these judges have judicial immunity, and a lot of you guys, if anybody's filed any cases in federal court, this is what's been saving these people, because lawyers, you say you give a lawyer like $10,000, the lawyer knows this, and the lawyer will take your money, file a bullshit paperwork where he doesn't put in half the work that I put in, and the federal judge is just like, well, the family court judge and the family court support magistrate, or whoever they're called, and I've been seeing some of your papers, and in New York we deal with family court. I know in other states you're dealing with different people, but they're all frauds. But anyway, they say, well, they have judicial immunity. That's it. Case dismissed. Well, when they have judicial immunity? They have judicial immunity when they're following the Constitution. Isn't that lovely? It's a scam. So what they made that for was, let's say a prisoner's in jail. He didn't like the decision of the judge, and he just files a frivolous lawsuit. That's what that was made for. But it doesn't apply if a judge or a non-judicial Title 4D child support fake judge issues a support order violating your right to a trial, violating your 4th Amendment rights, your 5th Amendment rights, your 6th Amendment right to counsel, 9th Amendment, which deals with this, and your 14th Amendment, where state laws are prohibited from violating your constitutional rights, but they do it all the time, as we're finding out. So I let him know that he had no subject matter jurisdiction. I cited a case called Scheuer versus Rhodes, where it states in plain English that the Constitution is the ruling document, and any law that comes up, any state law that comes up against it, and it violates the Constitution, the person enforcing that law is without subject matter jurisdiction and can be held personally liable without state immunity, meaning the state cannot defend them. But they do it all the time. But anyway, they're not supposed to. Now, if you notice, you could try very hard to force them to do it. Now, this guy, they all know who I am there. That's why I keep telling you, you got to make a lot of noise. Anyway, and all these papers count. Trust me. It takes a little while, but it counts. As my friend Mike Gilligan is finding out. I told you guys in my other video. He's Mr. Gilligan now. They treated him. He said because he couldn't believe how nice they were to him. Because we filed this paperwork and they read it. They know you're not a moron. So, next thing I know, then I filed this, a Writ of Quo Warranto, at the end of July. And they, within 5 days, I got a response. I had a hearing on August 22nd. That's the hearing. You saw me in the video. And if you watch me in the video, I'm artfully keeping him on the bench because I didn't want, you can't push them away. If you notice, I didn't get loud. I didn't speak to him rudely. I gave him his respect and he gave me my respect. And, I was demanding jurisdiction, but I was demanding I didn't do it like, where's the jurisdiction? Because they could just get up and walk out and that's not going to accomplish anything. If you saw me, I was polite to him. He was polite to me. He gave me my respect. Yeah, some guys were like, well, that's because you're a cop. Yeah, okay. Listen, do I have an advantage because I was a police officer? Of course. The average person doesn't get to testify in court. That's what I did for a living, guys. And now you're benefiting from it. This is my experience. And you saw what happened. And then all the trees started falling down. So now, I created one. Here it is. All right? I just finished it this morning. All right? Here it is. Writ of Quo Warranto. Now let me get back to it here real fast so you guys can understand what it's all about. All right. A writ of Quo Warranto is not a petition, but a notice of demand issued by a demandant to a respondent claiming some delegated power and filed with a court of competent jurisdiction to hold a hearing within 3 to 20 days, depending on the distance of the respondent to the court, to present proof of his authority to execute his claimed powers. Whoa. Wow. If the court finds the proof insufficient, or if the court fails to hold the hearing, the respondent must cease to exercise the power. You know what a respondent is? It's the judge. It could be the child support agency. It could be anybody. Right now what we're doing, the reason why I made this is because this is going to be filed in response to a judge who is just dismissing your paperwork because he thinks he can or she can. All right? Now, let me get down a little further. Quo Warranto has been suppressed at the federal level in the United States and deprecated at the state level, but remains a right under the 9th Amendment. So what it is, it's the average person doesn't know about it. The courts don't want you to know about it, but it's still there. And I got news for you. The judge, now I didn't bring up Writ of Quo Warranto in my hearing. I was just happy to be in there and getting a chance to speak. And if you listen to the video, I wasn't interrupted too many times. He let me talk. And talked I did. All right? And I filed this in the federal court. And she addressed it, but she didn't address it. But this shows me they must respond to this. And my friend Mike Gilligan told me Dr. Death, Dr. Jack Kevorkian, it made a movie about it on HBO. Al Pacino played him. He was the guy that was helping people, putting them to death, who were dying of terminal cancers and stuff. And what happened was he's a very intelligent man. And if you watch the HBO movie, his lawyer who was helping him out became a politician or something. But anyway, he represented himself in court, and they pulled all these scams on him, like all these lawyers, like, oh, you're not allowed to ask those questions and all this bullshit. And the judge, took away all his abilities to question. He wasn't doing things the way they want him to do. The way, like when you go to lawyer school. All right, remember, this is a common law country. A judge is only a referee. A judge doesn't tell you, oh, you can't question this when you can't question. That's the way it's supposed to be. Anyway, according to my friend Mike, and I didn't look this up, but he's a smart guy, Mike. I believe him. And it makes sense. And he got out of jail. He was supposed to do 8 years. He got out with 4 years or something like that. And somebody must have helped him, and he filed a writ of Quo Warranto to the judge, and they released him. And it makes sense. All right? So, it's a powerful weapon. All right? And I have one made. All right? I'll give you an example. Can the actions taken against the man you name be found to comply with due process? Well, how are they holding these support hearings without a trial by jury? Now, another thing, guys. Never, ever, ever waive your rights. I was communicating with somebody today. When I say communicate, I don't talk to people on the phone. Don't take it personally, guys. There's not enough time in the day for me to call everybody. And I told you guys in my videos I sound like a dick, but it's very hard for me to compress 4 years of my knowledge into explaining it to you. Trust me, if you ask me a question, I'll lead you in the right direction. I believe I will anyway. And he was asking me, he's like, he's afraid he might go to jail because they ordered him to take a paternity test. And I'm like, you don't have to. And he's like, is it that easy? I go, yeah, it's that easy. You have the right. You have the right to remain silent. And you don't have to take a paternity test. They can't put you in jail for that. All right, I'll give you an example. This is the example that I gave him. How many of you guys watched that show 48 Hours on A&E? And if you ever watch that show, guys, there's a common theme. They always bring a guy in there, or a girl, whoever they believe suspected of a murder. And you ever notice that the ones that keep their mouth shut always walk out of there? Did you ever notice that? You ever notice the ones, and you ever notice they have to ask permission for DNA? So, by the way, your paternity test is the same thing as a DNA test. So how can a judge at family court order you to take a paternity test if murder police, homicide detectives, dealing with a murder, the worst crime there is? Second is child support. Well, you know what I mean. There's other worse crimes. But anyway, if they can't order those people who are accused of murder to take a DNA test, how can anybody order you to take a paternity test? And another thing, never ever sign anything. Yesterday, I tried to help a nice woman. Well, now, there's women victims out there, guys, unfortunately. And I couldn't help her because, at the moment I can't help her because she agreed to a lot of things. It's hard to undo a signature. Okay? Because, if they're not signing anything and we can hold them to that, it's pretty hard to undo. Maybe she can go after the attorney that represented her because, who would sign away their rights? Real quickly, if you're driving in a car and you get pulled over and a police officer or sheriff asks you to search your car, you say no. Okay? And if you say no and he goes, well, I'll bring the dogs here. You saying no does not it's not supposed to raise his suspicion of probable cause because you have the right to say no. And I know this because that's what I used to do. I used to do drug interdiction when I was a police officer. And I never planted drugs in anybody. So, in other words, I had to know the law. And I learned that I just couldn't walk up to any Tom, Dick, or Harry in a bus station and say, hey, can I go through your bag and look for drugs? You got to have a reason to ask. All right. So that ends this video. All right. If anybody's interested, hit me up. All right. This is a very powerful weapon. I want, before you ask me for it, go look it up. All right. This comes right up. I did this. It's constitution.org. All right, guys. Have a good night.